Tonight, intense weather on both U.S. coasts. In the east, a massive storm is aiming for the Gulf and may be headed straight towards Florida. And in the west, firefighters battling dozens of wildfires as resources become slim. I'm Valerie Castro in for Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. Tonight, a potential tropical cyclone is developing near the Gulf of Mexico. The storm expected to bring heavy rain and high wind to Cuba first before coming down over Florida's west coast tomorrow night. Meanwhile, a red flag wind warning now in effect over Southern California. High winds and low humidity could spell chaos as those wildfires continue to erupt. Like the Park Fire, now the fourth largest fire in California's history, it's only 24% contained. The suspected arsonist behind the fire appearing in court just yesterday. Meanwhile, the Quarry Fire in Colorado started earlier this week and is now being investigated for arson. Fire crews are working hard to get a handle on it as it inches closer and closer to homes. Right now, it's about 4% contained. Our team is here now to cover this intense weather. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns joins us now. Bill, what's the latest on the storm that's churning out at sea? We can see it behind you.
Yeah, this one, we're thankful it was over Cuba during the day. It didn't develop. It didn't get any stronger. That's why it's still a potential tropical system. The reason they do that, the Hurricane Center, is because it's so close to Florida that people, they want to have as much notice or lead time as possible. So that's why they issue this potential. They do think by this time tomorrow, it should be a tropical storm, and it'll be somewhere in between Fort Myers and heading up towards Tampa. So right now, it's just kind of a mess of showers and storms. It's over the top of Cuba. It won't develop when it's over the top of Cuba, so that's all good. So the forecast path, they issue this even though it doesn't yet have a name. It does take it just off the Keys by about 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. So it'll be windy. There'll be squalls. Same for Miami, Key Largo, all the way through areas around Naples, and then it will slowly head up the west coast of Florida. This is when it should be getting stronger. It's not over land, it's over the warm, very warm water. As it then crosses Florida, it should weaken again, and then it should, depending if it's on the coast of the South Carolina and North Carolina and Georgia, or if it's offshore, will depend if it can strengthen or not. And then it should head out to sea after that and not hit New England. That's kind of the thought process with the expected forecast path. Now, how much confidence do we have? We have our spaghetti lines that we track as we go through the hurricane season. Each of these is a different computer telling us what's going to happen. Notice a majority of them take it up near Fort Myers, bend it through the I-4 corridor, and then head it offshore or near eastern North Carolina. A couple are a little further inland, and one actually stalls it, does a little button hook. All are within the realm of possibilities because the storm hasn't even formed yet. We don't even know where the center is going to be. So we're making some what we call best guess estimates at this point. The tropical storm watches are up for Tampa. We do have warnings from the Fort Myers area southwards down towards Alligator Alley there in the Everglades City and the Naples area. The Keys, because the winds may not be strong enough, are just under a tropical storm watch. And with any incoming system, with winds that are even as weak as this one, if they get up to maybe 50, 60 miles per hour, we will get a little bit of storm surge, 2 to 4 foot possible, if it happens at high tide.
So how seriously should people in Florida be taking this right now, given that possible storm surge?
So I lived in Florida for 4 years, went through a bunch of hurricanes, and I know a lot of my Florida friends at this point are like, it's a rain event, it's an inconvenience. And if this forecast holds true, we should not expect a lot of power outages. Again, we shouldn't have storm surge damage with 2 to 4 feet. Structures are built for much higher than this in the west coast of Florida. Now, the rainfall, if we do get the 6 to 12 inches, we could have some isolated problems with that. But as of now, this storm is more of an inconvenience than it is a serious concern for, life and safety. But that can change in a hurry. That's why we got to pay attention to these storms very closely.
Yeah, got to be prepared. How about on the other side of the country? We know some thunderstorms are headed to Northern California where those wildfires are, but could that actually be causing some trouble there?
It does look like it will be, especially if we get the lightning strikes over this upcoming weekend. We already have some happening now. So here's our fire danger map, and fast forward. Fire danger map, this is what we call red flag warnings. This is where the relative humidity is low, and this is where we also could get what we call dry-based thunderstorms. So there are thunderstorms, usually associate them with a lot of rain. So here's one that's happening right now in Yosemite National Park. Notice the little white, those are lightning strikes. That's kind of a typical thunderstorm with some rain. If a lightning causes a fire, hopefully the rain can typically put it out. But when we get these dry-based thunderstorms, we get thunderstorms more like these. They're really small. small, don't have a lot of rain with them, sometimes no rain, but they have lightning strikes on. This is near Barstow in California. Those are the ones that we're worried about that could cause significant problems with lightning as we go throughout the upcoming weekend. And the temperatures are going to be extremely hot. This isn't going to change. It's been a hot day today. It's going to be hot all weekend. And even into next week, it's going to stay unusually hot with temperatures easily above 100. So for the firefighters out there, no relief. And any new fires that form, and that's the important thing. When we talk about these lightning strikes, these could be new fire starts that spread that we don't have crews on yet. And if it's this hot and this dry, those could have, extreme fire behavior and, rapidly form.
Mm-hmm. Busy weekend for a lot of people,
yes.
It seems like. All right, Bill Cairns, thank you. Okay. NBC News correspondent David Noriega joins us now. David, we're keeping an eye on several fires burning across the West, but what area is the most concerning right now?
Well, Valerie, in terms of sheer size, the fire that's most important to pay attention to right now is the Park Fire in Northern California. That is now officially, as you pointed out, the fourth largest wildfire in California history at almost 400,000 acres. The issue now is that firefighting crews were able to make some progress on that fire over the last few days. It's been almost 10 days that they've been fighting this fire. They made some progress, got it up to about 24% contained, which is significant given that that fire hovered around 0 to 3% contained for a while at the beginning. But we're going into a weekend with really high temperatures once again and dry weather. The progress that they made was largely due to a break in the weather, and they're about to lose that. So we'll see that potentially growing. It's thankfully growing mostly away from population centers, though. That is not the case in Colorado, which is the other place we need to be paying attention. There are several wildfires in the Front Range of the Rockies. Those are the mountains that are just west of Denver and the whole Denver metro area. So very densely populated area. A lot of, many thousands of people under evacuation orders. There was even a big Lockheed Martin facility, the defense contractor, that closed that's right outside of the evacuation center, just to give you a sense of how sort of urban this area is. Crews there have also been making progress on those fires, but again, going into a weekend with pretty hot and dry temperatures, and it is possible that things could get worse.
And David, it feels like there's more fires burning than usual for this time of year. What do we know about that?
Yeah, that is very much the case. So just in California this year, we're still pretty early in the fire season. Normally it peaks later in August and into September, but it has already surpassed all of last year's wildfire season by more than 3,000%. So this is you could say that last year and the last couple of years were relatively mild fire seasons, but still what we're seeing this year is unusual. There are a couple of reasons for that, one of which is that we had a pretty wet winter and spring, which means that a lot of vegetation grew, which is now acting as fuel for these fires. That combined with record-breaking heat waves that we've already seen so far this summer is creating perfect conditions for fires. Of course, those heat waves are getting longer and more intense as a result of climate change.
And with all these fires, states often share resources. They send crews there to help out. With all of these fires burning at the same time, is there enough of those resources to go around?
Resources are definitely strained. You're absolutely right. States and the federal government often sort of pool resources and kind of cross-collaborate in these situations. It's a problem when you have nearly 100 wildfires going at the same time in multiple states. So far, the crews are throwing everything that they can at these fires. They're strained. The fear is that because this is happening so early in the season, it's only going to get worse from here. That has to do not just with resources like personnel and machinery and equipment and things like that, but concerns as simple as fatigue, for example, right? We're talking often about the same people who finish fighting one wildfire, go home, and then have to leave again to go fight another one. This is extremely physically demanding and exhausting work. And if you start really straining those people, those human beings who are actually doing this work over the course of a long fire season, you could potentially run into some trouble. Valerie?
Yeah, we know those crews have been working under some really extreme temperatures as well. David Noriega, thank you. A judge suspends Justin Timberlake's driver's license after his arrest on Long Island earlier this summer. Timberlake appeared virtually for a hearing this morning on charges he was driving while intoxicated in the Hamptons. Police say the singer veered out of his lane and rolled through a stop sign. Timberlake has pleaded not guilty. The judge suspended his license in New York today because the 43-year-old refused to take a breathalyzer test when he was pulled over. NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos is here. Danny, thanks for being with us tonight. Is getting a suspended driver's license for refusing a breathalyzer normal, standard procedure in this kind of case?
It's not only standard, it's pretty much what happens in New York if you refuse to take the chemical test. Timberlake is lucky. There are other jurisdictions, Pennsylvania, for example, where a refusal is its own additional crime. So if you refuse in states like that, you get hit with an extra crime. This may end up being a smart strategic move by Timberlake refusing the breathalyzer. And I want to explain what I mean by that, because that same decision might not be the best choice for a regular Joe, because most folks who go to work need their car. And what you find a lot, and I've handled a lot of DWIs, is that people have different needs depending on their lives. Some people would rather take a misdemeanor conviction and not get their license suspended. A license suspension can ruin a career for some people, salesmen, for example. So Justin Timberlake doesn't really need a driver's license. He zoomed in from Poland. He's not a guy, he's a guy that gets driven around rather than drives or needs to drive. He doesn't need it for his job. So if he ends up getting, even if he ends up getting convicted, he can say going forward, I wasn't drunk, I never blew the breathalyzer, they don't have a blood alcohol number on me. And that's true, but they can still convict him based on the observations of the officer. The problem is those observations are very subjective and they can be cross-examined, and you have a shot at winning.
And after that court hearing today, the judge threatened a gag order. Can you tell us what that's all about?
This is about Timberlake's attorney and comments that he made in front of the courthouse. And look, gag orders are very rare. The only reason we're even talking about this is because this is a high-profile case. Most DWIs are not high-profile cases. Although the judge may have the power to impose a gag order, it's not likely that he's going to carry out on that threat, because gag orders are constitutionally suspect in all circumstances. So it may be a threat, and judges often will make threats or remind people of the power that they have to sanction them, and then they don't always follow through with them. And that might be the case here, because a gag order might be more trouble than it's worth.
All right. NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos, thank you. In Illinois, the police shooting of Sonia Massey is putting new scrutiny on police hiring practices around the country. Experts say vetting depends on things like department size and an ongoing national police shortage. NBC's Maggie Vespa takes a closer look.
With the Sangamon County Sheriff refusing to step down, attention is now turning to his decision to hire the deputy who shot Sonia Massey and what that says about hiring standards for law enforcement nationwide.
How did a man with 2 DUI convictions and a history of personnel problems get hired by an Illinois sheriff's office where he'd end up shooting Sonia Massey? The Sangamon County Sheriff calls the vetting of new hires an informal process.
We call and check references on the phone, and we don't demand that they give us everything because it's a professional courtesy.
He says that courtesy failed to unearth 2 citizen complaints from Grayson's past and allegations he lied about a high-speed chase.
Knowing what you know now, was it a mistake to hire Sean Grayson?
We were satisfied that he could work as a police officer in Illinois.
I know you say based on what you knew at the time, it seemed like a good hire. I'm asking, based on what you know now, was it a good hire?
That's speculation. I'm not going to speculate as to what we should have done with hindsight.
Multiple experts tell NBC News there is no national standard in hiring and vetting law enforcement officers. Police psychologist Dr. Matt Goller screens applicants for more than 600 agencies.
Some have an application that's 3 pages long. Some have an extensive background investigation.
One study found 13 states, including Illinois, don't require psychological evaluations. Grayson sat for one, scoring low on a cognitive assessment. The psychologist wrote he knows he can move too fast at times. He needs to slow down to make good decisions. Grayson's pleaded not guilty to murder charges, his attorney declining to comment.
This case is a clear example of someone who should not have been hired. I've never seen someone pass with 2 DUIs.
The sheriff who hired Grayson says he'd support stronger standards nationwide.
The sheriff adding he and his office are now reviewing and revamping their own hiring policies, adding they'll now look for every possible angle they can find not to hire someone. Back to you.
Okay, Maggie Vespa, thank you. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Up next, clinching the nomination. Vice President Harris is officially the Democratic presumptive nominee. But the big question tonight is who will run by her side. We have the latest. Plus, emotional reunions for 3 Americans released in a historic prisoner swap with Russia, what we're learning about their first full day back on U.S. soil. And later this hour, how artificial intelligence is helping Team USA navigate their way through Paris. NBC's Keir Simmons has a first-hand look.
Slide left and continue 15 feet. Go through door ahead and turn left.
Wow.
Left and continue 100.
Look at this. This is great. And she just takes you there.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. Hunter Biden is set to be sentenced this coming November, notably 8 days after the presidential election. He was convicted on 3 criminal charges in his gun case, where he was found guilty of purchasing a gun while being an illegal drug user. He faces 25 years max in prison, but is likely to receive a much lighter punishment. The man who stole a Jackie Robinson statue is facing time behind bars. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison today after he pleaded guilty to stealing the statue in Wichita, Kansas. All that was left behind was the statue's feet. A new statue is actually set to be unveiled sometime next week. Virginia Republican Bob Good narrowly lost his bid for re-election. The House Freedom Caucus chair was ousted in the hotly contested primary recount. Trump-backed State Senator John McGuire defeated Good with a margin of just 370 votes. Good is the first sitting House Republican to lose a primary challenger this year. The scam to steal Graceland from the Presley family is heading to court. 2 sources tell NBC News a federal grand jury is going to hear evidence this month. The scheme involves the company's efforts to try and take control of the mansion in Memphis. The target of the federal investigation still remains unclear. Britney Spears is getting her own biopic. Universal Pictures landed the rights to the highly sought-after gig. That's, of course, part of NBC's parent company, Comcast Universal. Spears' memoir sold more than 2.5 million copies since its release last year. The pop superstar even taking to X to celebrate the news. Tonight, the DNC says Kamala Harris has enough votes to secure her party's nomination for president. It won't be official until Monday, but here's how she celebrated the news when she called into a live stream event of the virtual roll call.
I am honored to be the presumptive Democratic nominee for President of the United States. Of course, I will officially accept your nomination next week once the virtual voting period is closed. But already I'm happy to know that we have enough delegates to secure the nomination. And later this month, we will gather in Chicago, united as one party, where we're going to have an opportunity to celebrate this historic moment together.
Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns with the latest. Dasha, NBC News has learned that Harris is in the final stages of selecting her running mate. What's the latest?
All right, Valerie, so we're getting real close here. In the next 72 hours, she is going to be meeting face-to-face with the final contenders. Now, NBC News has reported a list of 6 that are in the top in the running. You see them on your screen right there. We know that some of them are already shaking up their schedules for the weekend. For example, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro was supposed to have some fundraisers in the Hamptons that he has now canceled, presumably for some FaceTime with the vice president. We know that the formal vetting process by a law firm has concluded. So now it's just time for her to sit down with some of these folks and make that final call.
All right. And the Harris campaign has also revealed some pretty huge fundraising numbers today, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. $310 million in the month of July, according to the campaign. That really outpaces the former president, who raised $139 million in that same period there. And this is really, Valerie, beyond the number, just an example of the momentum behind the new presumptive Democratic nominee. She has a small dollar donors. The campaign says that 2/3 of those came from small dollar donations, emphasized that the occupation of those donating were mostly educators and others with those kinds of jobs, and the people that the vice president is really trying to reach with her campaign.
And speaking of money and the momentum that the campaign has right now, what are the polls saying?
So look, polling shows a very tight race, and Harris has certainly gained momentum. She's leading in some of the states where President Biden was struggling in the past. And now you're seeing her within the margin of error still, but leading by a point or two in the average of battleground state polling before Harris stepped up to the top of the ticket. The former president was leading in those. So this is really looking a little bit more, Valerie, like the polls looked last fall. Still shows a competitive race, and we're going to need a little bit more time. She's only, President Biden only stepped down, just over a week ago. So we're going to need a little bit of time to really let the race settle into what it's going to be for the next 90-some days, Valerie.
And of course, we'll have to see what happens next week when she names her running mate. Dasha Burns, thank you. Today, the acting director of the Secret Service said his agency is fully responsible for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Earlier in the week, he blamed local law enforcement. NBC's Julia Ainsley has the latest. Julia?
Valerie, this was the first Secret Service press conference since that July 13th rally where a gunman took aim and fired at former President Trump from that roof in Butler, Pennsylvania. Even though acting director Ronald Rowe testified before the Senate this week, and former director who since resigned, Kimberly Cheadle, did testify before the House last week, there were still a number of unanswered questions, particularly from reporters who wanted to know how it was that Trump was able to take the stage, even though local law enforcement were talking about a threat, a suspicious person in the crowd, and about this critical time between when local law enforcement put over their radio that there was a gunman on the roof and the time that the Secret Service was actually able to take him out after they heard gunfire. We got some of those answers today. Take a listen.
The Secret Service takes full responsibility for the tragic events of July 13th. This was a mission failure. The sole responsibility of our agency is to make sure our protectees are never put in danger. We fell short of that in Butler, and I'm working to make sure that this failure does not happen again.
And tonight, the coroner's report obtained by our Pittsburgh affiliate WPXI confirms Crooks was killed by a gunshot to the head. Valerie?
All right, Julia, thank you. Coming up, the U.S. is stepping up its defense in the Middle East, bracing for retaliation in the aftermath of an apparent assassination of a Hamas leader. But first, you got to see this. A yoga studio in California now offers classes with live snakes. Yes, you heard that right. If you aren't afraid to add a little slither to your practice, LXR Yoga in Los Angeles has classes where you work with live snakes into poses. The studio uses ball pythons and says using the snakes helps you focus on your breath as long as you aren't holding your breath the entire time. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. In Asia, torrential rains have claimed over 200 lives in the past week. India reported nearly 200 dead and more than 180 missing due to landslides and floods. China has reported at least 48 dead and 35 missing following Typhoon Gami's aftermath. The region battles intense monsoon and typhoon seasons brought on by climate change. An Australian government review found Israeli airstrikes that killed international aid workers in Gaza were due to operational failures, not intentional targeting. Back in April, the strikes killed 7 World Central Kitchen staff members, including an Australian woman. The review cited communication breakdowns and violations by the Israel Defense Forces. Israel has apologized, but Australia is calling for stronger protections for humanitarian workers. An Air Force investigation reveals that a deadly Osprey crash off Japan last November was caused by a cracked gear and the pilot's decision to keep flying despite warnings. The crash killed 8 service members and led to a fleet-wide grounding. The investigation criticized the pilot's choices and a Pentagon office for not sharing critical safety data. The Osprey fleet has now resumed operations with stricter safety protocols. Venezuela's opposition candidate Edmundo González Urrutia has been recognized by the U.S. as the winner of the presidential election. President Nicolás Maduro's regime declared him the winner, but has yet to release detailed vote counts. The U.S. recognition follows a raid on opposition leader Maria Corina Machado's headquarters and rising tensions with Machado now in hiding. Now to the Middle East. The United States is sending reinforcements to the region in response to any potential Iranian attack on Israel. It comes after the apparent assassination of a Hamas leader in Iran last week and the killing of a top Hezbollah commander in Lebanon. Israel has not claimed responsibility for those killings, but is bracing for Iranian retaliation. NBC's Ellison Barber is in Tel Aviv with the latest.
Iran, Hamas, and Hezbollah continue to vow revenge after a series of high-profile killings, most notably the apparent assassination of Hamas's political leader, Ismail Haniyeh. There was a funeral in Doha, Qatar today, the final funeral and burial of Haniyeh. His coffin draped with the Palestinian flag placed alongside his bodyguards, who was also killed during the attack in Iran. Iran's supreme leader releasing a statement accusing Israel of killing a dear guest, adding, quote, "We believe it is our duty to take revenge." Israel has not confirmed or denied its role in Haniyeh's death, but the country and its allies are bracing for what's to come. In a phone call, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told his Israeli counterpart, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, the U.S. will take additional measures to support the defense of Israel. A spokesperson for the Pentagon was asked by reporters at a briefing on Friday whether or not that would mean more personnel possibly in the region in a defensive posture to support Israel. She said that has not been decided one way or the other just yet. But ultimately, she said it seems many options are on the table. The U.S. Defense Minister will make those decisions moving forward. Back to you.
Allison, thank you. An emotional reunion for the 3 Americans now on U.S. soil after that historic prisoner swap with Russia. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has more.
Tonight, 3 Americans finally free are back on U.S. soil. They'll now receive post-isolation treatment at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas. It's the same facility that helped reintegrate other prisoners, such as Brittany Griner. Now, this all comes after an emotional reunion at Joint Base Andrews outside D.C. Evan Gerskovich hugged and lifted up his overjoyed mother. He's now urging action to help Russians that are still imprisoned. President Biden also welcomed home Paul Whelan. The former Marine later accepted the commander-in-chief's flag pin. A third American, journalist and Russian dual citizen Alsu Kurmasheva, embracing her teenage daughters and husband. Today is her youngest daughter's 13th birthday, and she and her older sister gave up tickets to a Taylor Swift concert in Poland to welcome Mom back. Meanwhile, the White House is now touting Vice President Kamala Harris's role in negotiations. She met with the German Chancellor and the Slovenian Prime Minister at the Munich Security Conference in February. But former President Trump is now calling the prisoner swap a win for Vladimir Putin because he says the Russians got a, quote, great deal that sets a, quote, very bad precedent. And tonight, other families are heartbroken. American school teacher Mark Fogel has been detained in Russia since 2021. His sister told us she thinks he's been left behind. Today, the president promised he's not giving up on bringing Fogel home. There are still more than 40 Americans wrongfully detained or held hostage around the world. Valerie?
Gabe, thank you. The city of Venice is now enforcing new tourism restrictions. They include restricting the size of visitor groups to a maximum of 25 people. The goal is to reduce the impact of crowds on the canal city. NBC News international correspondent Claudia Lavanga walks us through the new rules that other European cities are now considering.
Venice, one of Italy's crown jewels and one of the world's most beautiful cities, made increasingly ugly by mass tourism. Locals complain the sheer number of visitors makes Venice unlivable, and tourists don't enjoy being stuck in crowds and queues either. So, from today, the city is limiting tour groups to a maximum of 25 people. It's the latest move to try to ease the tourist crush. After Venice trialed charging visitors to enter earlier this year and banned huge cruise ships from the city's historic center.
We need to find a balance, a new balance between the tourist and the resident.
It's a problem that's long plagued Europe's most popular holiday hotspots. But now some have had enough. In Barcelona, locals with water pistols have sprayed tourists. Residents angry at being priced out of a place to live by holiday Airbnbs, prompting a ban set to start in 2028. Others complain of tourist pressure on resources like water and rampant hotel construction on pristine beaches. After a pandemic slump, data shows that tourist numbers are roaring back to pre-COVID highs in Europe and are set to go higher.
We have seen increasingly more protests this summer than ever before, with people, really sort of getting very frustrated at what they see is the tourist communities taking over their environment. They're not able to rent homes. They're finding they can't go onto beaches.
And it's not just beaches. Amsterdam's cannabis cafes and famed red light district have long been a tourist draw. And also a focus on antisocial behavior, prompting this TV ad warning troublemakers to stay away. But that doesn't mean you should. There are ways to make your vacation more sustainable and less hassle for locals. If possible, visit outside of July and August to ease the summer rush, and try and visit locations nearby, not just the city center. Also, take a look at lesser-known destinations. Experts say Valencia offers a similar experience to Barcelona, and Utrecht rivals Amsterdam for culture and canals.
So yes, go to Amsterdam, yes, go to Barcelona, but perhaps start exploring areas just outside of the city. Explore places at different times of year. And then actually it's a bonus for both. So you as a tourist, you get a less crowded, more authentic environment. And for the people who live and work in these cities, they get to actually elongate their season.
Wise advice for a vacation with less irritation. Claudio Lavanga, NBC News, Rome.
Coming up, saving sequoias, how scientists are working to spare nature's majestic giants from major threats, including raging wildfires. That's straight ahead, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following. One person was killed and 3 were injured in a shooting that took place in an Aurora, Colorado parking lot Thursday. Police say they don't believe the shooting was random and that there was some kind of connection between the shooter and the victims. They're still trying to identify a suspect. 2 people have died from falling at the Grand Canyon this week. Officials say one visitor died during an unsuccessful base jump Thursday. They discovered his body earlier today. And a 20-year-old North Carolina student fell 400 feet while on a mission trip with his church Wednesday. Police are still investigating both deaths. Chevron says it's officially moving its headquarters from the Bay Area and California to Houston, Texas. You may remember how California sued Chevron and other large oil companies last year, claiming they misled the public about fossil fuels. Chevron says it will take the next 5 years to relocate staff. Big concerns on Wall Street today with a weaker than expected jobs report sparking new fears the economy is slowing. The market's taking a hit with the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 all dropping significantly. The U.S. added only 114,000 jobs in July, far less than experts predicted. That's down from 179,000 jobs in June, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The unemployment rate also raising some alarm bells, the rate rising up to 4.3%. You can see that slight uptick in the curve there. It's actually the highest the rate has been since October of 2021. And it underscores the very real fears economists have that the job market is slowing too quickly and could trigger a recession. NBC's business and data correspondent Brian Chung breaks down the new numbers for us.
Hey there. Well, new jobs data shows that the jobs market in America is cooling. Let's unpack the numbers that we got on Friday. 114,000. That's how many jobs were added in the month of July. So we are still adding jobs, but it's much lower than what economists were expecting. They thought we would see 185,000 jobs added in the month. So 114,000, that's a pretty big miss. And also not great when you consider that we saw the unemployment rate rise as well. The unemployment rate in this country now at 4.3%. That's a slight uptick from the 4.14% figures we had been seeing in the months prior. But it's really not that much higher than, let's say, the 3.5% figures we have been seeing about a year ago. But nonetheless, this trend is going up and something that we're going to have to watch very closely in the months to come. Now, if you unpack this report and take a look by industry, some pretty interesting trends when you look at some of these blue collar jobs like in construction and leisure and hospitality. county. These are bars and restaurants, still adding at a pretty healthy clip, over 20,000 in those industries each. And healthcare also adding jobs, over 50,000 added in the month of July. So yes, those industries look okay, but one industry that doesn't look okay is information. The Bureau of Labor Statistics classifies this as including tech jobs, also jobs in media. Yikes. That actually contracting by 20,000 in the month of July. So it seems like maybe some of these office jobs are negatively impacted by some of these trends we're seeing in the labor market. Now, for the Federal Reserve, the central bank that's been keeping interest rates high, they're the ones to blame for the high mortgage rates and the high credit card rates that you've been experiencing. Well, they're looking at that 4.3% unemployment rate and going, all right, our high interest rates have taken inflation down a little cooler, but at the same time, it has also raised the risk of the unemployment rate going up further. That's a big reason why after this jobs report came out, you have market strategists saying we could see the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates in September. Not only might they cut interest rates, but they might even cut interest rates more dramatically than we had thought. Market pricing now expecting the Fed to possibly do a 0.5 percentage point cut in their next meeting in September. Compare that to the 0.25 percentage point moves they're usually used to making. We'll have to follow all those trends in the months to come. Back to you.
Brian, thank you. Weight loss drugs have surged in popularity in the last couple of years, but doctors warn that changes in appetite can sometimes lead to eating disorders. NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Syal reports.
Cynthia Landrau has always had a complicated relationship with food. Fighting obesity since she was a kid, she was eventually diagnosed with binge eating disorder.
For me, it was obsessing about my next meal, obsessing about when my next snack is going to be. I was always thinking about food. It was like just continuous thoughts about it.
Struggling to lose weight, her doctor recommended a GLP-1 drug, part of a new class of medications used for weight loss, now soaring in popularity after being touted by celebrities like Oprah.
The superstar admitting she uses a weight loss medication.
But what happened next shocked Cynthia.
Completely changed the way I looked at food, how I felt, how I was thinking, like completely. Like for the binge eating, it like almost completely took it away.
She began skipping meals, eating as little as 500 calories a day with dangerous consequences.
I did experience like my blood sugar levels drop because I wasn't eating enough and I wasn't eating frequently enough. First time that I fainted, I was on the subway. It became more important to maintain that weight loss and to continue losing weight over fueling my body.
Doctors say Cynthia is part of an emerging trend of patients who have developed eating disorders or seen them worsen since starting the medications, which include drugs like Wegovy or Zepbound.
Particularly in the last 6 months, we've just seen an increase of new onset eating disorders or worsening of current eating disorders based off of the use of these drugs.
Dr. Thomas Hildebrandt, chief of the Eating and Weight Disorders program at Mount Sinai School of Medicine, says he's seen patients develop eating disorders just a few months after starting the drugs.
Their relationship with food then became more obsessive. Their relationship with their weight and their body also became obsessive. You start to turn into someone not like yourself.
When taking GLP-1 weight loss drugs, it's normal to have less of an appetite. This leads patients to eat less and ultimately leads to weight loss. But sometimes it can go too far.
So how do you know if patients eating less is part of a normal reaction to a drug or it crosses a line into an eating disorder?
I think there are a couple of signs. One, if you're unable to eat enough to actually maintain your nutrition. The other kinds of symptoms that we see a preoccupation with the number on the scale, the progress I'm making in weight loss that doesn't ever really stop.
Major eating disorder organizations are now calling for doctors to screen people for conditions such as anorexia or bulimia before prescribing these drugs. In a statement, Wegovy's maker Novo Nordisk said their medications should only be taken as prescribed and trust that healthcare providers are evaluating a patient's individual needs. And Zepbound maker Eli Lilly said they actively engage in monitoring, evaluating, and reporting safety information. And if somebody is experiencing any side effects, they encourage them to speak with their healthcare provider. Cynthia is now working closely with a psychologist who has helped her get back to a healthy diet and weight. She's still taking the drug to maintain her weight, but doesn't use it as often.
I wish I would have been better prepared for the side effects that my mental health had, but I appreciated the medication has helped me reach my weight loss goals. Ultimately, I'm grateful.
Dr. Akshay Syal, NBC News.
Back now to the wildfires burning out west, where firefighters are racing to save people, homes, and the world-famous sequoia trees. Now NBC's Steve Patterson takes us inside the battle to save the giants and the surprising fight they are coming up against from some environmentalists.
There's no good way to describe the overwhelming awe of California's General Sherman. At 3 blue whales tall, 400 elephants heavy, 2 car lengths wide, this giant among giant sequoias is the largest known tree in the world. But as we learned, even one of the biggest, baddest things nature can produce are far from invincible, especially now. We were there, inside Sequoia National Park, when a team of scientists scaled it for the first time because, well, they're worried. New sequoia threats like tiny invasive beetles are compounding climate change, producing larger droughts and bigger fires.
We now know in the era of climate change that we have fires of great intensity, and they have started to take its toll on the population.
In 2020, the Castle Fire killed about 14% of all giant sequoias. The next year, in the next fire, we lost another 5%.
We thought, wow, this could be a problem.
Sequoia expert Christy Brigham is leading the effort along with the National Park Service to protect the trees.
We had 27 groves that burned in those fires. The death of the big trees in those areas was 90% or higher. So that's not good. That's not in their evolutionary history.
The agency is now part of a larger organization, including the state, the Forest Service, and local indigenous tribes called the Giant Sequoia Lands Coalition. And they've been busy.
What you're looking at, these are actually giant sequoias. They are, of course, the seedling version. Park officials here say they planted about 60,000 of them in places where they're needed most, which is important. There's only 80 groves across the entire world.
Well, we've got another 3.5 feet to go.
But an opposing group of scientists says, well, to put it bluntly, they're barking up the wrong tree.
This was not a catastrophe. This was not the doom of the sequoia groves. It's actually, the hope for the future of these groves.
Chris Hansen is leading the charge against what the Sequoia Lands Coalition is doing. But to understand why, you have to understand how California's wildfire fighting strategy is changing. California has a history of trying to suppress every fire. Just ask Smokey the Bear.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
But in the last few years, as wildfires got more and more out of control, the state has moved toward fighting fire with fire. At least a little bit. The idea is that controlled burns, now sometimes called prescribed burns, will help cut down on fuel for when a major fire strikes. That's not controversial, but just how much human intervention is needed is.
The way we've been doing things, suppressing fires, keeping fires out of the groves, that's actually killing the sequoia groves.
Hansen points out that the sequoia's bark serves as armor, able to withstand heat that would destroy other species. And the flames are a big part of how they naturally sprout, the fire opening up thousands of tiny cones that fall from the trees, releasing seeds that eventually take root. And he's concerned about 2 major forest management techniques being used: thinning the forest by cutting down smaller trees and removing dead debris.
We're removing some of the very best wildlife habitat in the forest, because it turns out that a standing dead tree, what we call a snag, is actually more important for more wildlife species than a standing live tree of the same size. Wow, it's not even close. That's the interesting thing.
It's not even
close. Yeah.
So a dead tree has more value to wildlife than a live tree.
Far more. It's the single most ecologically important element of a forest ecosystem, hands down, no comparison.
Last year, he and several advocate groups sued the National Forest Service to stop what was coined the Fuels Reduction Project. The National Forest Service responding that its strategy is as old as some of these massive trees themselves, saying in part, over a century of scientific data confirms that strategically designed fuels reduction treatments can reduce wildfire risks. Those risks just too high for the forest managers, tasked with protecting our most majestic groves. They believe that famous old General Sherman could use a human helping hand.
We're in the forever business. If you were killing 20% of all the millennial sequoias every few years, would you have this forest? You wouldn't.
Steve Patterson, NBC News.
And we go to breaking news tonight. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says he has revoked the plea deal offered to the alleged masterminds of the 9/11 attacks. That's according to a memorandum released late this evening. Those pre-trial agreements were made earlier this week and were immediately met with backlash. Austin took command of the case and canceled the agreement altogether, likely reinstating the death penalty case in the process. We'll continue to follow this developing story. Before we go tonight, it's time for the future of everything. The topic of when is the right time to give kids their own phone is evolving, with more parents choosing to hold out a bit longer. The final installment of the Generation Text series next. Plus, seems like AI is everywhere we look, and the Paris Olympics is no different. How the tech is helping athletes get around with just their phone. And in tonight's Future of Everything, we're talking about when parents should get phones for their kids. Chris Glorioso from our New York station WNBC reports on how parents are dealing with this.
I knew this trade could happen.
What's going on with the 49ers receiver?
That's a great hire.
Westchester County's Ian Rappaport is one of the best-known sports journalists in the country.
Let me get this. Hold on. Yo.
He spends hours fielding tips from NFL insiders.
Yeah.
Glued to his phone.
God, that's hilarious.
So you might be surprised.
But that's awesome.
He is adamantly against giving phones to his own kids.
A phone is productivity increasing for me, or essential, or a part of my everyday life, or something that I literally hold in my hand all the time. It's all that for me. It is not that for our children, and frankly, I don't think it should be for anyone's children.
Rappaport is a supporter of movements like Wait Until 8th, a parent-led push to change cell phone culture across the country, encouraging other parents to postpone giving smartphones to their kids too. But it's difficult because so many kids already have phones. Depriving your son or daughter of one can feel like depriving them of a social life.
I think that's why Wait Until 8th and some of the policies they champion are effective, because it really does take a village.
It's tough. It's tricky.
In a private school auditorium in Montclair, New Jersey.
But I'm looking for red flags like bullying.
Parents at this Wait Until 8th meeting debate how feasible it is.
It's so prevalent.
To withhold phones from their kids until they are at least 13 or 14.
There needs to be a whole new set of guidelines.
A key strategy, they say, recruiting more and more parents to take the pledge.
We want to spread the word out because I think parents feel super stressed. I don't think it should just be on parents. I think we're doing a grassroots thing because that's the only option we have right now. And I hope that it's enough to keep our kids sort of protected.
Groups like this have popped up across the nation, and you'll notice they are not just calling for the delay of social media. They're urging parents to postpone smartphones altogether. That's because one of the fundamental features of phones is texting and endless group chats that can make it hard for kids to take a break from the peer pressure.
And I also want him to have access to technology, but not just the dopamine hit.
Though the Wait Until 8th movement is gaining steam, there is far from consensus on when kids should get their first phone. Our exclusive iTeam survey of school administrators found most principals and vice principals think kids should get phones at age 14 or older, but they reported most of their students actually get phones at age 10 or younger. Muddying the waters more, there is scant scientific research proving phones cause youth depression. Some of the nation's top developmental psychologists believe factors like the opioid crisis and growing up after COVID and the Great Recession are more likely causes of teen mental health decline.
Let's have a conversation about youth mental health in this country. That would be fantastic. But if we were to have that conversation and we got experts who really knew a lot about youth mental health, and they made a list of the top 10 things that we should be addressing to improve our kids' mental health, social media would not be on that list.
Indeed, last year, a consensus review from the National Academies of Sciences found no clear link between social media and adolescent health. It called for more research. Despite that, this summer, the U.S. Surgeon General called for a warning label on social media. And parents like Ian Rappaport say they're not waiting for more research. They're already convinced there's a problem.
Studies are what they are. You can read them however you want, but it's our job as parents to say, this is okay when you're 18, or this is okay when you're 21, or this is okay when you graduate 8th grade, but it's not okay now.
Wait Until 8th is a national movement with chapters in all 50 states. Organizers say 60,000 parents have already signed a pledge to delay giving smartphones to their kids until at least the 8th grade. The group also intensely advocating for school districts, state governments, and the federal government
to pass more restrictions on phones and social media for kids. Chris Glorioso, News 4, New York.
You can probably imagine artificial intelligence is intertwined with the Olympics in some way, shape, or form. But what you might not realize is that the U.S. is actually using AI to help visually impaired athletes compete and improve their performance in Paris. NBC News international correspondent Keir Simmons explains.
We're inside Team USA's training center, walking in the shadows of the country's most elite athletes. We've never been here before, but navigation won't be a hurdle.
Joe, good to meet you. Great to meet you.
You show me around?
Yeah, sure thing. Let's go.
Great. Thanks to the help of artificial intelligence.
Where do we want to go? Do you want to go see the track? Yes, I want to go see the running track. Track access. Got it.
To start this route, raise your phone vertically to find your position in the building.
Good Maps, an app powered by Intel, can help guide athletes, coaches and staff through several Olympic sites like never before.
Slide left and continue 15 feet. Go through door ahead and turn left.
Wow.
Left and continue 100.
Look at this. This is great. And she just takes you there. Yep. Simple as that.
Arrived. Track access.
It uses light detection and lasers to measure distances in a 3D space. After that, the system creates a 2D floor plan. Using voice navigation, it turns into a guide for anyone, especially those who are visually impaired.
We're developing technology that allows essentially turn-by-turn directions indoors. It's really important to be able to be confident that you know where you are at any given point, and then you know where you're able to go, and you know when you get there.
Intel is bringing AI technology to this year's Olympics and the Paralympic Games. Darrell Adams is Intel's Director of Accessibility, and he's also legally blind himself. He says this app isn't just a matter of ease.
I look at technology like this as just another aspect of the ability to help athletes focus on the job they came here to do.
The public app is being used in 21 US states and 5 countries and can be downloaded on any Android or iOS device. Intel says AI technology is helping them expand indoor navigation to more buildings and venues.
So AI is going to make this possible in many, many places all at once. Absolutely. Quickly. Yes. That's a gold medal, my friend.
Artificial intelligence is also heading underground for these Olympic Games. Paris Metro employees being given special tablets that will translate between French and 16 different languages. More than 3,000 agents will have it in their toolkit as millions of tourists flock to the capital city for the Games. And even if you're not traveling to Paris, AI could still be part of your Olympic viewing. NBC will be cloning the voice of legendary sports broadcaster Al Michaels, using AI to narrate daily streaming recaps.
Welcome to your daily Olympic recap.
You can either resist it or you can embrace it, and I've chosen the latter.
In a variety of ways, AI will make its mark on the Summer Games as the very real athletes reach for gold. Keir Simmons, NBC News, Paris.
That does it for us tonight. I'm Valerie Castro. We'll see you next week, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.